What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet, and I'm black up in your face again with some more pro-black commentary. So, I've been, running into a certain video that's kind of been like popping up on the goofy sector of YouTube, and it's an old video, but people are reacting to it now. So you got some of these, goofy Negroes on YouTube kind of watching this video and kind of bucking their eyes or whatever at it. And it's a video it's titled "The Conservative Twins Reveal Why They Left the Democratic Party." So basically, it's the Hodge twins. If you don't know who they are, they're these super light-skinned black YouTubers who have been on YouTube since forever. They've been on here about as long as I have, if not longer. Okay, and recently over the last few years or so, especially when Donald Trump was running for president, these guys decided that they were going to flip and become conservative, and they changed their name and have a political channel called the Coonservative Twins instead of just calling themselves by their last name. Now they're just the Conservative Twins, and they buck dance and buffoon for white bigots and white conservatives. Basically, that's all they do on that channel, right? And when they made the switch, it wasn't that big of a surprise to me, and I went ahead and watched this little video that they did for Daily Wire, because that's where they made their whole like life story and confession about why they left the Democratic Party, quote unquote, right? And let me say this. Before I even watched the video, I already predicted the nonsense that they were going to say. So we're going to talk about the BS that they put in this video, and then we're going to talk about the truth of why they switched to become the quote-unquote conservative twins. So before I watched the video, I knew what they were going to say was they were raised to be Democrat. Maybe their parents told them to be Democrat. And then when they got older as adults, they started seeing some things, and then they saw some videos somewhere or saw a speech by some conservative, either a black conservative or a white one, and then that changed their whole outlook on life, and they started becoming more conservative, and wearing MAGA hats and all this other nonsense. They wear the uniform of the conservative. These black conservative males, they always had to have a baseball cap. They always had to have some sort of flag t-shirt or a flag in the background. It's always the same uniform for all of them. If you look at Brandon Tate, not Brandon Tate, Brandon Tatum, Brandon Scrotum, and what's his name? Tommy Sotomayor does the same thing. There's a whole bunch of them online now, like a whole bunch of these conservative buffoons who they all dress the same. Night Talk, all of them. Young Ripper. They all just have the baseball cap and some sort of patriotic symbol either in the background, or they're wearing a t-shirt with the patriotic stuff on there, and that's their uniform for being a quote-unquote black male conservative on social media. But I watched their video, and that's basically what the Hodge twins talked about. They came out and said that their parents, mostly their mother, told them they had to be Democrat, and the Republicans were always racist and white supremacists, so they couldn't vote or ever, go along with conservatism or the Republicans, right? And then they said that when they first could vote, they voted for Al Gore in the 2000 election, which I found very interesting, because they said we had to vote for Al Gore. We couldn't vote for George Bush Jr. because he was racist and white supremacist. Now, if the Hodge twins' mother was truly honest with them, what she would have said was the Republicans are overtly racist and the Democrats are covertly racist. Okay? Republican and conservative racism is right in your face when it comes to black people. Democratic and liberal racism is usually a little bit more undercover. It's a little more devious. Sometimes it might be a little bit harder to spot, but it's still there. If their mother knew better, that's what she would have told them. Okay, because there is no difference between them. In fact, the fact that they brought up the Gore versus George Bush Jr. election was very interesting to me, because one of my favorite music videos from that era was done by Rage Against the Machine. I think it was the Testify video. And it showed how Al Gore and George Bush Jr. were no different politically. And there were a lot of political commentators during that time who said that. That's why a lot of people were kind of thrown off by that election, because really they were both saying the same thing. Al Gore is basically conservative. Okay, he ran within the Clinton White House, and he was basically a conservative, a classic conservative. So there really was no difference between uh, George Bush Jr. and Al Gore, other than maybe a degree or two. George Bush Jr. just was lined up more with the neo-corporate conservatives. That's it. Okay, there was no difference between the two, and that's why later on you see certain politicians hang out together no matter what type of letter they have after their name. Like you've seen George Bush Jr. hang out with the Obamas. They're best friends with the Obamas. They still hang out with the Bidens. You see, there's no difference between the two. So, when the Hodge twins say stuff like that, like that they were forced to vote Democrat, and then they said later on, after they did their stint in the military and they started being on YouTube and whatnot, that they started watching videos by Ben Shapiro and what's the other Larry Elders. They started watching videos by him, and that changed their whole outlook on politics, and they decided that they're going to switch over to being conservative. First, they didn't want to say it out loud because they didn't want to offend their audience, quote unquote, but then they just kept on going with it, and basically it just flipped their whole audience too. They said that now they really don't even have too many black people in their audience. They used to have more, but once they became MAGA and conservative, their audience, they said, looks like a Bon Jovi concert or whatever, mostly white people basically. So that's what it was, and that's all the nonsensical excuses that they gave for why they became conservative. I'm going to tell you the real reason why they switched over to MAGA and conservatism, okay? Once again, the Hodge twins have been on YouTube since a long time, since the inception of making money on YouTube. I remember them back in the day. They both had their little mini afros, and they wear their little button-up shirts, because I believe they revealed that they were actually working for an insurance company at the time. So that's why it looked like they were always dressed up, because they would take their lunch break and do YouTube reactions or YouTube videos or skits or whatever, right? I remember all that. I remember just how silly and goofy they were. But, when they became popular, they started making money on YouTube, but everyone knows that YouTube kept changing its guidelines, right? And they started demonetizing a lot of people who were either using profanity or, talking about any type of gross things or reacting to anything that's too weird. Because I remember the Hodge twins were reacting to like porn stars talking and conversations with porn stars and rap videos and everything else, crime videos, videos of children getting abused and stuff like that. So they were just reacting to anything. And once YouTube changed its guidelines, you can no longer do that. This was around 2013, 2014, 2015. They started really cracking down on YouTubers, and it didn't matter how popular you were. If you were doing content like that, you were getting demonetized or even getting, your channel taken down or banned or whatever, right? So, the Hodge twins, they couldn't do a lot of that goofy stuff anymore. They couldn't talk about busting nuts and whatnot 24/7. So they had to change up and figure out another way to make money on YouTube. What was popular at the time? Politics. What type of politics could really get people to watch you? A black YouTube channel doing white, bigot, conservative politics is going to be popular on YouTube, because you're not only going to get these white, bigot, conservatives supporting you, but you're going to get these white, bigoted liberals to hate you and hate watch your channel. So you got 2 for 1 there. 2 mayonnaise mutants for 1. You got one bigot one supporting you, and the liberal bigot is going to be acting like they're mad at you and have all types of phony outrage and whatever. So they're going to just hate watch your channel, right? So that was the best thing for them to do. And, they know that conservative politics, no matter how ridiculous it is basically not going to get anyone taken off of YouTube, because YouTube is crawling with these maggots and these vermin that support conservatism, these black people who pretend to be conservatives, people like Candace Owens and, like I said, Brandon Tatum and others. They're just crawling all over the internet like little vermin and mice and rats and whatnot. So it's easy to do that and still get a paycheck from YouTube and still keep your popularity on YouTube. And plus, you get to do live shows. They do live appearances where they go to these little MAGA events or support these conservative politicians or commentators. And they basically just come online and they make excuses for white bigots. If a white person kills a black person, they come out here and make excuses for that white person committing that crime. If a black child or whoever is murdered, they'll make excuses and make it seem like that black child deserved to get killed, and it wasn't racism involved at all. So that's basically all they have to do on social media, and that helps them keep popular and keep making money. So that's why they flipped over to MAGA and being conservative. Plus, they were halfway there anyway, because I don't think either one of them is married to a black woman. And when they talk about their upbringing, all they talk about is how they either, the way they talk about black people, you can tell there's a little bit of a hate there for black people. They claim they became conservative and started spouting conservative views so that they can help black people, but it's always very condescending with some of the things they say. So I know the Hodge twins are not stupid. Okay, I know that they have some sense, and in order to keep making money and keep up with public appearances, they decided to become conservative and became the quote-unquote conservative twins. Okay, so that's the reason why a lot of that stuff is a grift. They watch other people do the same thing. God knows Larry Elders and Jesse Lee Peterson, they've been doing that shit forever. Candace Owens is one of the newer ones. She's perfected that whole craft of bullshitting and pretending to be conservative to get money out of the bigots and to get hate views from these liberals. She's perfected that. So, if you're a black person and you just defend these bigots and, espouse their bullshit, just regurgitate what they say 24/7, you're going to get those views and you're going to keep on making that money. Okay? So that's what it is, and that's the only real excuse. So for all you black goofies out there bucking your eyes and pursing your lips out and reacting to the Hodge twins and how they told their story of why they became, or how they left the Democratic Party and became conservatives, I just broke it down for you and told you the real reason why they are where they are now. So anyway, you folks can let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. I very much like to hear your opinions on this. And the last thing I will say is, if the Hodge twins were truly brave and they truly want to be original, they would not be preaching Republican or black conservatism. They would leave both parties and say, you know what, I'm going to be pro-black people, and knowing that it's not about voting for a particular party or a particular political philosophy. It's about doing what's right for my people. It doesn't matter who I'm voting for per se. It's about who is going to give my people the best deal. I want to see them start talking like that and see if they can keep their white bigot audience and see if their white bigot audience keeps supporting them if they truly became free of mind and started talking like that. I doubt it very highly. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on a devil's back.